Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you all are doing good. And if you remember last Friday when I was doing my weekly live stream here on YouTube, we talked about the Republicans in the US Congress, and even a little more specifically, the Republicans in the House Ways and Means Community. Because you see, the Republicans have the trifecta right now in the United States government, holding a majority in the US House of Representatives, the US Senate, and of course, President Trump. Trump 47. So with the trifecta, we've been promised. And I think us saying we've been promised, I think that's actually an understatement. See, here's the problem. Some people are like, well, 2A EDU, you give these people too hard of a time. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But I actually think I'm a little bit too polite. But we were promised that there'd be major Second Amendment stuff going on, meaning repealing draconian, unconstitutional gun control laws. And there's going to be this bill coming forth here very, very soon. It's an omnibus bill. It's going to put us about $4 trillion more in debt. Soon, the United States won't even be able to afford the paper, the cloth fabric blend of paper that we print our money on, but that's okay. Because to pay for paper we can't afford, we'll just print more. And I can't stand omnibus bills. I think everything should be single subject matter. But for once in my life, and for once in probably all of your lives, there was a chance actually under this omnibus bill. Trump's calling it his big, beautiful bill. It's a big bill. I don't know if it's going to be very beautiful or not for the Second Amendment community, and I kind of doubt it. But under this budget reconciliation process, there's a way to block a Senate filibuster, meaning stuff can be passed on party lines, right? Well, guess what? When the Democrats are in charge, they always pass stuff on party lines, no matter what. And then when it comes to the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, many Republicans in the Senate came over with Democrats, spearheaded by the senior senator from Texas, John Cornyn. So here's the problem. When the Democrats are in charge, Republicans love to come over and help them out, help them infringe on the Second Amendment a little bit. See, I'm being too nice again. Help infringe on the Second Amendment a lot, actually. But Democrats will never, ever. You guys know that Taylor Swift song? She says, we are never, ever getting back together. Well, look, I'm not telling you to listen to her, but here's the thing. Just think that song in your head when you're thinking about the Democrats. The Democrats are never, ever going to get with Republicans on anything pro-Second Amendment, no matter what. Well, budget reconciliation, omnibus bill, the very premise of it just makes me shudder. You know, you work your butt off and they print more money and your money's worth less. And I have a beautiful little girl, 13 years old. And man, you know, life's short and then you die, but you'd like to hope and you try, right? I know all of you do, to make this world a better place for your children and your children's children. But yet here we are. It's omnibus. It's this, it's that. Makes you wonder who's even in charge. And we can discuss that as the stream goes on tonight. But the Republicans, the Democrats, what a joke. What a false dichotomy. Because on party lines, we were supposed to be getting the Hearing Protection Act passed through the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee. The Short Act, the Hush Act, that would have literally deregulated as originally submitted silencers, otherwise more commonly known as suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, other things. This could have been a big deal. This is kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, right? And I guess you get to the point when you're a Second Amendment supporter because instead of it being a natural God-given right, which it is, the government doesn't look at it that way. Neither political parties look at it this way. And maybe this is why this channel isn't very popular, but you know what? I'm just going to say it how it is. I think that's why a lot of you are here. No, it's not just the Democrats. It's not just the Republicans. It's both of them. It's all of it. It's this uniparty. And the more I keep digging into it, what's going on in the world, and actually what's always been going on under the world, because like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. I'm not even sure how much the United States is even in control of its own country. And I literally mean that. I don't even know if it's the United States that writes our home bills and our own laws anymore. And I certainly know that we, the people, aren't in charge of our own government at all, obviously. There's over 100 million gun owners in this country. We own billions and billions of rounds of ammunition. If we were the problem, they would know it, right? But no, we just sit here and we play this stupid game. It's tic-tac-toe. Put in your X, put in your O. The problem is if you get a string of X's, you lose. If you get a string of O's, you lose even more. See, it seems, and in times like this, it seems more and more every day that we're playing a game that if you win, you lose. And if you lose, you really, really lose bad. Has anyone else ever thought of that? Just think about that for a minute. Who in their right mind would even play such a game? If you win, you lose. If you lose, you really lose. And here's the problem. You're playing the game over here, but the real game's going somewhere else. You're playing with them, and the real game's probably being controlled by they. And who are they, though? Who knows? But I will tell you something I did think about a lot. And I really can't think of anything new, but I look back, and one of the oldest sayings in the book is more true now than it ever has been before, and it's always true. You know who really has the power? I mean, they're the ones you're not even allowed to talk about. Just think about that. But here we find ourselves in the United States Congress, in the House Ways and Means Committee, and they stripped out the good stuff out of the Hearing Protection Act before advancing it through. They've completely and utterly removed the Short Act. Now, here's the crazy part. You haven't even heard me rip on Trump yet. Look, I've ripped on Trump as much as anybody. I've lost a lot of subscribers on YouTube ripping on Trump. But here's the thing, though. Subscribers, they don't pay anything. This channel doesn't pay my bills and never has. So why does that even matter? But look, Trump actually seems like he's gotten his act together a lot better on the Second Amendment this time around. When I called him out as much as I have, and I will again as soon as he messes up again, trust me. But, hey, man, calling him out was meant to be positive peer pressure. I said, hopefully somebody can just get to Trump, and maybe he'll start understanding things a little more. Here's the crazy part, and I give him no pass on bump stocks. I give him no pass on calling for red flags, none of that. But at a certain point, you have to just judge something by its fruits. And right now, the tree of Trump is bearing a little better fruit than it did in the last term. But here's the problem. So Trump comes around a little bit. It seems like it. I'm just saying. Seems like it. I think that's objectively true. And now we've got these congressmen. These useless, whatever they even are. Basically, all they do is run by lobbyists. All they're motivated by is trying to get reelected anymore. And now they're going to hold up the Second Amendment. Short Act got removed from the budget reconciliation process. They modified the Hearing Protection Act at this point. Now, hey, some people are saying there's still a Hail Mary chance, and I hope there is. I really do. Maybe this weekend, like late at night on Sunday, early morning Monday, maybe we'll see some of this stuff pop up, because there's a couple. There's a couple Republicans who are fighting back in the United States Congress. Not many. Not most. But there are a couple that are pushing back, and I hope they will. But as of right now, we're going to basically here's what we get. You want a prize. Silencers will still be regulated by the National Firearms Act, pursuant to the draconian registry, pursuant to the permission slip to cross state lines, making them hard to transfer, where your friend could be criminalized if they're like, hey, dude, can I go borrow your can so I don't hurt my ears when I go shoot today? Yeah, that's a big felony. Just to let somebody take your NFA item and borrow it for an hour or two, even though you know they're a good person and you'd like them to hear well the rest of their life too. No. It'll still be regulated by all of that. They're going to waive the $200 tax stamp, but only if you buy it from the industry, only if you buy a ready-made silencer. And as soon as I heard that, I knew it. I knew it last week. Now we have some news that's being alleged that I was right. I was right about all this, I think. I hope something happens in the last minute. I really do. And I'll be happy if it does. But I'm going to say if, not when. Because I don't want to be naive. But I'm like, what if you make your own silencer? Oh, you'll still have to pay the $200 tax on that. I bet you the industry's behind this. I bet you at least somebody, if not many players in the silencer industry are behind this. Well, we had news this week that allegedly appears to be true, actually. It wouldn't be the first time that the gun industry has screwed over our free exercise of our natural right to keep and bear arms. It wouldn't be the first time that lobbyists and outside influences, maybe many of them are from other countries, but they cheat our system to the point where they throw America in front of another country, okay? They throw America, another country, and then PAC behind it. A blank PAC. But somehow it's legal because this is the American Israeli Political Action Committee. I mean, look, and I mentioned that because that might be our answer to all this. Maybe we need to start to get foreign governments on board with the Second Amendment. Yeah, right? No, that'll never happen because that's what makes the United States different than other countries. But actually, if you want to get bills passed, most of them are sponsored by other governments due to the way that their political action committees and campaigns and the way the whole money laundering scheme and bribery scheme set up. Yeah, they have a lot more influence, I think, on laws than people like you, people like me, and in many cases more than Congress, and in many cases even more than the president, actually. I know that's scary. But here we are. Now, I saw something out of the corner of my eye in the chat. What's happening, chat? How you guys doing tonight? Good to see you all. But I saw somebody mention something about, but the cops. Well, that's funny you said that. Because here's the deal. They always exempt their own. Always, no matter what. Supposedly, what now they're going to give us in this budget reconciliation, something we've always wanted. They said, well, hold on. Now we're going to give you concealed carry reciprocity. And I just stopped for a minute. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, concealed carry reciprocity, that's a big deal. Like, first of all, I reject the premise, though. So it's really not that good of news because I'm like, Now, hold on, guys. There's a comma but in this. They said, we're going to give you concealed carry reciprocity even after we took out the Short Act, neutered the living daylights out of the Hearing Protection Act. Yeah, we're going to do all that, but we'll give you national concealed carry reciprocity. And I'm like, well, dude, there's a lot of people that are just victims of the times and aren't even trying to do anything wrong. They just don't know that there's like 26,000 federal gun control laws, regulations, codes, rules that have full force and effective law. And there's been a lot of people that have innocently just meandered a couple miles into another line, state line. You know, they had licked the boot of the government. They had bought their permit. By the way, the only permit says shall not be infringed. And that's the Second Amendment. But a lot of people choose to play the game and buy a concealed carry permit, which is begging the government permission and paying a tax on a God-given right. But still, with all that said, I'm like, okay, it'll keep a lot of people from getting hemmed up and put in prison for exercising their natural right to keep and bear arms. Okay. But instead, they're going to give us national concealed carry reciprocity. And then it was like, for Leo, for Leosa. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. So now they're taking away the Short Act. This is as of right now. Things could change, and I hope they do change. But as of right now, think about this. They've taken away the Short Act, which means at any given whim, we've all dealt with it before. Braces could become SBRs again. You name it could become an SBR, an SBS. Looks like that's off the table right now. There's a couple of Republicans pushing back. I'm optimistic, but not really. And they've stripped the guts out of the Hearing Protection Act, but I'm like, oh, wait a minute now. I thought Leo under Leosa, it's called. I thought they already had national concealed carry reciprocity. And correct me if I'm wrong, but a cursory search concluded they actually do. And they already have. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So we the people just want to be left alone, get the boot of the government off of our necks. Everything's criminalized. You're always like, you're too afraid to even own a gun half the time, right? I mean, I hope not, but a lot of people are. I know a lot of people that have been getting out of guns like crazy because they're like, dude, it's just too much stress. Probably not most of my viewers, but dude, lots of people, right? Gun sales are in the toilet right now. Interest in the Second Amendment is essentially an all-time low. while we need it to be at an all-time high. And it frustrates me that people seem so apathetic right now, but at the same time, I actually get it. I do. I really do. Because when they say that they're going to come and give something back to we the people, they neuter that, and then they say, well, we're going to give more to the police. Come to find out, I think it's something that they already had. But at the same time, it's like, no. See, we're not supposed to live in a multi-tiered society. We're not supposed to have to address people by titles of nobility in this country. We're certainly not supposed to live in the caste system. But there was an old saying that said, the sun never sets on the British Empire. Well, I used to laugh at that and be like, well, it looks like it did, but maybe not actually. Because apparently we do still have titles of nobility in this country, and we clearly have two different classes of citizens. Where they come in and say, well, we'll take this all from you all. But then we'll come in and give more, and I'm using air quotes because this is how they all word it. Your rights come from government. Your Second Amendment rights. We'll take from you and give more to the police. Look, the good ones out there, I hope you don't do it. I hope you don't do it. But who takes the guns? When they say go take someone's guns on a red flag restraining order. When one day there is the law that says, all right, we're going to come and take your guns. Who does that? People with guns, people with immunity from being sued civilly. People with guns that you paid for to come take your gun that you paid for. And if you don't give it up very peacefully and politely, you'll receive a bullet from a bullet that you paid for. Just think about that. While taking your gun, and you're just thinking to your whole self, from my cold dead hands, and I need to fight like hell to make sure we never, ever, ever become a communist country. But that's how it works. There's more stuff going on in Michigan as well. I'm going to get into all of that. But yeah, as the stream says, are politics dead? Did we ever even have politics is a better question to ask. Or has it always just been an illusion of politics? It's an illusion of choice, right? It's the 3-card Monty hustle. You have an illusion of choice. You think you can choose. But no. The sleight of hand will get you every time. Most Republicans still hate the 2A. I stand by that. And it seems more of them every day. And some in the gun industry do too. Before we continue to get into all of this, I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to my channel members, which I see a lot of you guys in the chat right now. You guys get some unique emojis. You get some recognition in the chat with a little insignia there, as well as some bonus content that I post for all of you. Same thing goes for my Patreon supporters, as well as my local supporters, which is a different site, censorship-free. Make sure you're following 2A EDU on locals for really good deals on stuff that you're going to enjoy and want to know about. Awesome deals on stuff that I post daily, as well as bonus live streams. So make sure y'all checking me out there, and their sister site that rhymes with fumble, as well as on X, where I'm posting stuff almost every day there as well. And also thank you for those of you who leave super chats. You guys are the channel sponsor. There is no ad reads in this channel. This is not brought to you by APEC, even though most of the Congress is. So thank you, and I will read all of your super chats. And if we do get 5, I will do a Q&A for the viewers before I jump off. And I'd like to thank Ron 2A Matters, just became a YouTube channel member. Well, thank you for the support, Ron. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. So, what do you guys think's going on here? Is it just the old bait and switch? Is it controlled opposition? I don't know. But we have this budget reconciliation right now in the United States Congress, where they can actually slip something in on party lines. They can slip it in, just like the Democrats do, on party lines every time. And as we speak, they keep weakening the Second Amendment aspects of this omnibus bill, this big, beautiful bill. And here's the crazy part, and I truly believe this. Look, is he truly pro-Second Amendment, like people like you and me? No, but I've noticed Trump has a little different look in his eye with many things this time around. He really does. He does. I think Trump will sign it. I actually do. I think Trump will sign it if they can get it on his desk. This is how the Democrats fit all of their woke, crazy crap in there, right? As on party lines during reconciliation when they're in power. And they did, and they do, and they will again. The chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee is a guy named Jason Smith. Not an expert on Jason Smith, but I looked into him and I'm like, well, this guy's got to be the problem because he's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Him being the chairman, he can put forth whatever he wants in there. Until I realized that's actually not true either. No, it's actually not. Because what they do is they go through and poll all the people in their caucus. They do it in the Michigan House. They do it in the Michigan Senate. They have a caucus room. They'll say Republicans to the caucus room, Democrats to the caucus room. On the state level, on the federal level, and it's a back room. It's a private room for them. It's not available to the public. No reporters are allowed in there. Some representatives will leak information that's set in there. I may have been privy to some stuff myself here and there that goes on. May have been, but I'll never divulge my sources because it's nice to know what goes on in some of the back rooms. But hey, man, they have more candid conversations back there when the TVs aren't on, when the cameras aren't rolling, when journalists aren't around. Look at me, and I'm glad, trust me. I just want to bring up how corrupt the system is. But the Michigan Senate Police says to AEDU that this channel is not media, even though I've reported on more stuff than anybody in the state of Michigan, quite frankly. I think that's fair to say. No, they don't want people like me around at all, like not even close. Trust me, they don't want me near them. But even media is not allowed in the caucus rooms, in the back room. And then these Republicans, like I said, this happens on all different levels. It's the same game, just there's the minor leagues. There's the minor leagues of corruption. There's the farm system of corruption. And then there's the major leagues of corruption. And I'm here to rip on all of it, to be honest with you, because I'm getting sick and tired of all of their shit. Yeah, I really am. Every last one of them, pretty much. Now, there's going to be a couple exceptions. There's a few good ones here and there, and there really are. You need to get behind those people because they're in an uphill fight and really, really bad, too. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. They've decided when they caucused that there's just not going to be the votes at all to get any of this crap through. The Hearing Protection Act, the Short Act, the Hush Act, none of it, because of some Republican holdouts. I'm sitting thinking, well, hold on a minute. If they want to change it where it's still pursuant to the NFA, we're talking about silencers right now, and they're willing to abolish the $200 tax, but yet they still get to keep the registry. They still get to control everything. They still know right where they're at when they come to take them. Because don't forget this for 1 minute. Registration always has, and I believe therefore always will lead to confiscation. Like literally, that's how it works. You know, I was listening to a podcast earlier today. It's called the Martyr Made Podcast. Is anyone familiar? History podcast. And I have to give you the best censored version of this I can with a highly censored site that I'm on right now. But they talked about people of certain religion that were in a certain country that was occupied by a certain Reich that was to last 1,000 years. If you know what I mean. And they were talking about how you literally, like, they were offering people resettlement and saying, do you want to resettle here? If you do, bring all your belongings and bring your valuables with you because we're literally, going to give you a free train ride to resettle you so you can go back with your tribe, wherever. Look, there's no good guys in World War II. Did you think there were good guys in World War II? No, I don't think so, actually. I'm not sticking up for any of the sides of World War II either because there were no good guys there. But I was listening to this podcast in the end. If you look at what the Allies, the United States did at Dresden, the way they literally just bombed, like just mercilessly bombed and killed whole cities and devastated and melted whole cities of Germans. What? Someone's not a person because they're a German? I don't think so. No, because I've been saying this for years on this channel. There's many good people that live in every country of the world. And most good people, at least smart ones, hate the political machine that they're under. But on every side in World War II, every last side of it, they mercilessly killed many, many, many people. Here, we'll save you from the Fuhrer only to hand you over to Stalin, who murdered multitudes more millions than the leader of said Reich. If you say certain words on here, they'll shadow ban the living daylights out of you, if not a lot worse. But they said, look, we'll give you a train ride to resettle you. Bring all your valuables and stuff because we're gonna get you out of here. No, they didn't. There was a story on the Martyr Made podcast. It was portraying a true story of where they took him on the train ride and they marched them to a gorge, and they would tell you to walk to the edge of it. But first, they would strip you of all your valuables, shoot them on the edge of the gorge, and just push them in. And after there were so many, put more sand on it. This happened in many countries, many different people. You know, when I went to school, history taught you, and I'm not just talking in primary education, but even in the little bit of community college I went to. They taught you, well, there was this one side that was after this one race, and it was just, no, it was never like that. And it still isn't like that today. But they literally offer you, here's a free train ride. Look at the favor we're doing you. It's free. You can just get on it. That reminds me of this free tax stamp that they're trying to put forth in the Hearing Protection Act. And I'm literally making this a direct analogy. Because you know what? If a lot of people in many countries, okay? I'm sick and tired of this one country and these one people always being the victim of everything. No. Many, many, many people. The atrocities of war, of World War II, World War I, all wars. Wars going on right now, actually. No, look. Free train ride. Free tax stamp. Free tax stamp where you're on the registration. Registration leads to confiscation. What does that have in common with what's going on right now in World War II? They registered people. They took their guns. Because guess what? It's a lot harder to get an armed person on a train. And it's a lot harder to get an armed person to stand on the edge of a gorge to be covered in sand minutes later, isn't it? Well, yeah. Yeah, because literally from the beginning of time, in many cases, might does actually equal right, at least on this earth. Now, not in a spiritual sense. And I believe that this earth is just literally but a trial for eternity. That's what I believe. But while we're here, yeah, in many cases, in all cases, actually, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And I wonder, you guys answer this for me. I wonder how many stupid people that are Second Amendment voters in the gun community will actually think it's a favor if that's what gets passed. Here, we'll give you a free tax stamp so you can register your stuff for free. It sounds like one of the biggest traps I've ever heard of in my whole life. I'm literally sitting here thinking, well, that's a bunch of crap. Because the draconian parts of the NFA aren't just the $200, although that notwithstanding is completely and utterly egregious, obviously. But the fact that you have to register yourself with the federal government, where you are subject to random and possible inspections. Everyone says, no, you're not. Actually, yes. And I've looked it up before on this stream. Years ago, I talked about this topic. You give up a lot of the security and your persons, your effects, and your papers when you join the National Firearms Act registry. You have to ask a permission slip to cross state lines, these so-called United States of America, where the only reason the government is supposed to be allowed to exist at all is to protect our natural God-given rights. And we fought a so-called civil war of states trying to secede from the Union. Right? Maybe it was a second Revolutionary War? Was it the War of the Southern Rebellion? Was it the War of the Northern Aggression? Well, that all depends who you ask and where you come from. But at the end of the day, it was all a bunch of BS, and a lot of good people died doing that too. For what? For what? To be put on a registry where now to be able to transport across state lines, you have to ask a permission slip? Just think about that for a minute. A lot of very, very good people on both sides died in the United States Civil War. Over what? Well, over the right to be free from a tyrannical government, only to fall into a tyrannical government that's even more tyrannical. Now, as reported, and I'm just going to tell you my source for it because that's where I heard about it from. I'm going to assume it's true, but as alleged by the Guns and Gadgets channel, he says a company named Silencer Central that he has good reason to believe. The Silencer Central may be behind one of the key congressmen that's holding out on the Unabridged Hearing Protection Act. Now, I don't want to falsely impugn a business without evidence, and so I'm being very clear. I don't have evidence of that. I just told you my source. It's on his channel. Go watch the video. Now, whereas I'm not going to say I know it to be true just because Guns and Gadgets said it, I have no reason to doubt what he's saying either, personally. That's my candid take on it. But whether it's them, which it appears it may be so, or other ones, and probably many other ones, the notion of this didn't surprise me at all. Because that was literally, tell me if any of you thought about this, because I can't be the only one. I literally thought about this immediately. I'm like, oh, look. So it'd be a waiving of the $200 tax stamp, which I said is bait. That's very akin to the free train ride. Look, get on the train for free. We'll take you somewhere real nice. Here, you want the silencer? You don't want to lose your hearing? Mateo, that constant ringing you have in your ear when you were a United States Marine and the hearing protection that you were issued clearly probably wasn't adequate for the ordinance that was going off in your immediate vicinity. And I can't even understand it. I don't even want to understand it. But how you've told me that sometimes it's so bad that you just want to like jump out of your own head. Yeah, that people want to avoid. The people want to avoid by screwing a little device on the end of their firearm. Yeah, that. Now, why is it that they would waive the tax stamp but still have you register it pursuant to the NFA if you buy it from the industry? You know what I mean? Just think about this. A lot of people have hearing issues too. I'm bringing up my friend Mateo because I know the particulars of his situation. I'm not going to go too in depth with it other than what I just did. But a lot of you guys in the civilian world have sustained hearing. A lot of you damage. A lot of you have worked in construction. A lot of you, have worked in landscaping. A lot of you have just been to too many rock concerts in your life, right? If my beautiful wife is watching, she's been to a ton of concerts. Like your ears ring like the whole next day. It's a fun time, but it's not good for you, No. Here's the thing, though. When they said, well, waive the tax stamp if you buy it from the industry. Yeah, guys, I'm going to add a new one to the list. The gun industry industrial complex, it appears, is here to get us again. Now, that doesn't mean there's not good manufacturers out there, because there are. There really are. And there's a few good politicians out there, and there are. But speaking in generalities, I'm like, okay, so if it comes from the industry, free tax stamp, free train ride. Come on all aboard. Now, but if you make your own, which allegedly can be easily made in many, many ways from very common things you find in the garage, you still have to pay the $200 tax stamp. And I'm like, whoa. This is like 100% clear now. Now, I always knew this, but it's like, people sit back and there might be somebody watching right now. It's okay. We're still friends. We're still cool. But someone ran. I was like, dude, this dude's a conspiracy theorist. Where is he coming from? No. Here's the thing, man. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm like, okay, so, and you have to look at the details. See, most people focused on, well, And here's the thing. I've been talking to people all week. They're like, look, dude, even if we can't get, it's called Section 2 back into the Hearing Protection Act. Hey, man, at least it's a minor win, you know? At least it's a minor win. We get the $200 waived. And no one really talks about the second half. Yeah, if you buy it through the industry, through the FFLs, right? If you buy it through the manufacturers who are all registered with the government. No, that's what that means. When you buy a license to either transfer, sell, engage in the business, remember that whole rule we talked about on this channel? When you're engaged in the business of firearms through a whole long plethora of different ways, you have to sign a deal with the devil and you have to pay the United States government a bribe. You have to literally bribe them to keep you out of jail. No, I'm actually being serious. Because if you're a special occupational taxpayer, you can make National Firearms Act items for a lawful purpose. But the same guy does the same lawful thing and he doesn't pay his fee that year that's due. Immediately, now he's a felon. And when we say felon, we mean big time felon. Yeah, like you could go to prison for a long, long time. Oh, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, wait a minute. If it's the same guy and he's doing the same thing, what makes it where this guy's good to go and this guy's not? Yeah. There was a time they convinced us the mob was the problem in this country. Yeah, right. As the old saying goes, I used to have this bumper sticker when I was younger that says, don't steal. The government hates competition. No, the U.S. government wanted to get the Italian mob and Irish mob and all these different mobs out of the way as much as possible because they're the true mob and they don't want competitors. So the only difference is the one guy paid the bribe, the other guy didn't pay the bribe, and that's it. That's it. God's not going to judge either of their souls differently. The guy that paid the bribe, he may go home and beat his wife. The guy that didn't may go home and give her a hug and tell her how much he loves her, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Because if you paid the bribe, you're good. If you didn't, you're a felon. And you're not fit to be among us. So, if you want to make your own, it's called, which, look, we've always had the right to manufacture our own firearm before the United States was a country. Like, look, these rights are inherent. These are the laws of nature and of nature's God. And of course, when the founding fathers decided to recognize that natural right and prohibit the government by saying shall not be infringed, prohibit the government from ever even considering a scintilla of gun control. Well, yeah, that's the direct translation of shall not be infringed. And there is no comma, there is no but, there is no, well, except, no. Shall not be infringed, period. Next amendment. And then it talks about quartering a soldier in your home, which we did actually have the government forcing landlords to soldier quarters during the time, quarter soldiers during the times of the Kung Flu. So that's even been violated too recently. Everyone's like, but hold on to AEDU. But the Third Amendment doesn't. No, that got violated too, because when they come for the second, they literally come for all the rest. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, hold on a minute. Clearly, if the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, then the government shall not infringe on your right to make your own firearm. I see DLD After Dark in the chat. What's happening, man? DLD After Dark with the super chat. He says, Sic Semper Tyrannis. Shout out to you and your channel, my friend. But look, build your own, right, DLD? I mean, look, that's not just like a second class, like fourth class version of the second class Second Amendment right, is it? Yeah, say that 3 times fast, but that's how they look at it. No, like obviously building your own, making your own is the epitome of the right to keep and bear arms. Because if you can make your own, then that's called being resourceful. There's many ways to look at it. Some people around where I'm at say, a country boy can survive. There's a lot of people in the city that know how to survive too, make no mistake, but that is where most libtards come from, is big cities, let's be honest. But look, it's called make your own. Well, then why is it under this supposed gift that we're going to get? Now, maybe something will change this weekend. I hope it does. I hope it does. I'm running out of patience, though, man. Ooh, am I being patient? There I go again. I'm being too nice to these people. I'm trying to be patient. Maybe they can do something in the middle of the night. And I'm already waiting for the comment. But 2A EDU, you're only playing 15D chess. This is 16D chess. No, whoa. Well, that's just above my pay grade. I'm obviously like, dude, I'm smart enough to play 15D chess, but I can't play 16D chess. Got me there, right? Got me there. But 2A EDU, no, this is serious. That's Mateo, he'll tell you. But 2A EDU, you don't understand the concept of chess. And I'm like, actually, I haven't played in a long time, but I was always pretty decent at chess. But 2A EDU, you don't know 2D chess. And I'm like, yawn, learned that yesterday. And then it keeps going on, 2D, 3D, 4D, etc. 15D chess. And I'm like, ooh. Bobby Fischer called to take notes on me on 15D chess. But 2A EDU, you don't know 16D chess. And I said, oh, dang, but you got me. No, I'm being serious. I confess, guys. I don't know 16D chess. But here's the thing. You go back to this, what right now is going on with this reconciliation bill. Okay, as we speak. They're like, oh, well, no tax stamp if you buy it through the manufacturer industrial complex. That all pays the bribe. Those are the good ones to the government. But if you're the bad one, see, here's where you get the thumbs down. See, we can't play 16D chess on this channel, but we can understand this. Come on. We're smarter than these politicians. I mean, literally. So, but if you go to make your own, you still pay the $200 tax. I'm like, ooh. It's like a lot of people nowadays. I'll give you guys some advice. A lot of people nowadays are like, well, I'm going to go online and get me a date. I've never gone online dating. I got lucky, actually. I got real lucky. But look, and then they meet somebody from whatever. Did you know society's gotten so bad now that by the time your teenager daughter is an adult, likely 1 or 2 kids in her elementary school class will be an OFer. It's called OF. You guys familiar with the site? Yeah, the rates are literally expected to get as high as 1 in 10 coming up here. That's literally how corrupt all of this is. But this is actually a true story. I hate that it's a true story, and I wish it wasn't because it's going to make me blush even telling it. I've never had this experience. Like I said, literally, man. Like, never really had time to date too many women. Happily married to my wife. Never care to look at any other woman again. But I got friends that are in the dating world. So this one guy is a little younger than me one day. And this has to do with this whole thing where I smell the rat, right? So he's sitting there and he's like, man, so I met this chick on, I can't remember the app. He swiped right and he said 99 times out of 100, the women swipe left. And I'm like, well, yeah, because a lot of women nowadays are mercurial, it's called. And if you're not 6'3" and exactly a certain look and not worth $5 million, they swipe left. Well, in this case, he said, I couldn't believe it, but she swiped right. I'm like, swipe what? Swipe? I'm just like, look, I don't even know how people, I'm lucky. I truly am. I couldn't even survive in this modern world. Those of you that are fighting through it, hats off to you. But he's like, I swiped right and she swiped right on whatever app. And I'm like, okay. He goes, and then we go to hang out. I'm not going to give too much. I'm going to give you the PG version of this story. And he's sitting there and he's like, and all of a sudden, like, she gets in the car and I'm getting ready to take her back to wherever. And I'm like, dude, this doesn't sound like a way to like meet a quality woman. And he's like, well, I was just trying to like hook up or whatever. And he says he notices coming from the passenger seat, a smell starts to come out. And I'm going to give you the very family-friendly version. You don't have to bug your ears. But this is how this works, though. And he's sitting there, and he's like, I started to smell a smell of like a fish. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is so stereotypical. You couldn't even make this up. He's like, no, it kind of started to smell of a fish in the vehicle, like pretty quickly. And I'm like, dude, you kicked her out, right? He's like, no. I'm like, dude, what a hoe bag this must have been. Like, literally. And he's like, oh, well, not necessarily. I figured maybe she just gone fishing. She was just a country girl. And she had just got done fishing a few minutes earlier, and that could explain all of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, dude, I'm sure that's what it was. And I'm not even going to tell you the rest of the story. But look, these people here are going to tell you. They're going to say, well, look, it might swim like this. It might crawl like this. It might slither like that. Oh, but it's not that. Maybe it's we're doing you a favor. We're going to do you a big favor. Now, here's the interesting part. What's happening, Kurt24, with a member super chat? Member for 34 months. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He says both parties are bad. Yeah. And that's nothing me and you came up with just now. Because George Washington, on his farewell speech, right, Kurt? Rejected the political parties. And all of it. It's true. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, well, okay, so the gun industry is clearly behind it. Like they're behind almost all of this. Does anyone remember back in the 90s? Back in the 90s, I graduated high school in 1998. 1994, I was 15. I owned one gun. It was an SKS. All right. And we had a nationwide AWB for 10 years. It lasted from 94 to 2004. Now, Congress passed a law that forbid regular citizens. Now, police were always exempt. Government was always exempt. I mean, the people are buying and the people are suffering all in the same sentence. 10-round magazine. Does anyone remember that? 10-round magazine. Good for you, Eric Johnson. Good for you, man. And like I said, hats off to you all. Nowadays, trying to meet people, it's just got to be crazy. Like literally crazy. These younger girls and women and whatever you want to call them nowadays. Notice I didn't use the word lady for half of them. You know what I'm saying? What's happening, Jane Locke? How you doing? Jane Locke's a good old girl. She's a friend of mine. When's the last time you saw a lady, Jane? Now, you know a lot of good people, though. Jane knows some good ones. There's some good ones out there, but man, oh man, it's hard to actually find a lady nowadays, isn't it? But look, I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, well, okay, so the gun industry, yeah. Allegedly, Silencer Central being behind wanting to keep the tax stamp on making your own silencer. This is where it sits right now, guys. Hopefully this changes for the better this weekend. I really do. But, all right, they're involved. It took me back to about 1994 again. Anyone ever heard of a guy named Bill Ruger? Bill Ruger was his name. He was a FUD. He was the FUD of all FUDs. One of the biggest FUDs there ever was. And then he died. See, that's the thing. These people, they're literally already rich. Every one of these politicians is already well-to-do. They already get almost all their expenses paid for. They get a decent salary, too. I mean, come on. Oh, well, we only make several $100,000 a year. Only? You kidding me? What about the people that are making $30,000 a year? Now, there's a lot more people that make $30,000 a year than make a couple $100,000 a year. Let me tell you what. No, they're already making good enough money. When's enough? When is the money ever going to be enough for these people? Because all of them, every last one of them, they were born. At one time, they were all an innocent little 3-year-old. And then some of them grew up to be very fine people, and they did their best, and they did help make everything better, a better place for their children. But then a lot of them didn't do that. They grow up to be monsters, where when's it enough? When's it ever enough for these people? When's it ever enough power? When's it ever enough money? Because most of them are already rich, and they're already filthy rich. And instead of looking at their conscience, instead of looking at what's right, instead of actually following their oath of office, which is to uphold and to defend the Constitution, most of them will take the money every single time. And I sit here and look at how stupid these people are. Because it's like, dude, like, you already have enough money. You could actually do something good. You could actually do something that matters with your life. You're in the United States Congress, and you could actually make this a less infringing country to live in. You could actually make this a better place to live in. But no, they don't. They go after the money. Well, guess what? They're all going to get old, and they're all going to die too. Because that's the only things that are certain in life. The certainty is once you're born into this world that you're going to die from it. And you can't take it with you when you go. Bill Ruger, he testified in front of Congress, and they said, well, look, we have Ruger here. One of the largest manufacturers domestically in the United States. And then they called in executives from Smith & Wesson, one of the other biggest ones, and they said, how many rounds does somebody need in their firearm? How many do you need before it would not be considered infringed? Go look all this up. This is testimony. They were testifying in front of Dianne Feinstein back in the early 90s. Guess what? She got old and she died too. Did she make the world a better place? No, I don't think so. Did Bill Ruger make the world a better place? No, obviously not. Same thing's going to happen with all these Congress critters. All these that are resisting, all these that are trying to stop the repealing of NFA items. Look, the NFA is the epitome of gun control. It's the epitome of a tyrannical government, and they can do it right now. But now there's already allegations coming out. They're getting bribed. They're getting bribed. So they testified in Congress. Smith & Wesson was part of it, Ruger, and even Bill Ruger personally, the owner of Ruger, said, well, for law enforcement, the sky is the limit. See, law enforcement might need all kinds of rounds. But for the average person, the average regular person, people just like me, people just like you. Now, I don't think my friend Ray was born yet at this time. How's it going, Ray? Nice to see you. I hope you're doing good. Back in 94, they said, well, hold on a minute. They said a regular person only needs 10 rounds. You know? This was the gun industry at that time that helped to shape that helped to mold that. That there was that 10-round limit. And that was federal law for 10 years, 94 to 2004. And unfortunately, some of you can chime in that know all about it. A lot of states adopted that, and it's still in law. And you still have to abide by that on the state level in many, many places right now. Right? So it's a weird thing, right? Where it's like, okay, the government's against you. All right. But then the manufacturers that actually make this stuff, they wind up against you in many cases too. Not all manufacturers, not even close. Don't mistake what I'm saying. But some of the biggest gun control laws we've seen have been put in by deals made with the NRA, deals made with the firearms industry in so many cases. Nice to see you, Ray. Nice to see you. Looking good. So, yeah, man. Does that shock anybody, though? Does that shock anybody that there's now allegations that there's somebody in the silencer industry who might be partially behind the fact that they want to waive the $200 tax, but still register you and all that, right? If you buy it from the industry, but if you make your own, you still would have to pay the tax. Yes. And that's what I was saying earlier too, DLD After Dark. Because look, man, the way I read the Bible, it says every knee shall bow. And that's every, actually. At a certain point, those that don't believe, they'll believe all right. He says one day all these people have to go down on their knees and answer to Christ. Whether they know and or believe that or not, they will. Well, look, that's what I believe. But look, this is what it comes down to. Again, like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. But we're in a battle of good versus evil. Always has been, currently is, and always will be. And we're sitting here right now. It's like, dude, the Republicans control the United States House of Representatives, the United States Senate. President Trump 47, who I'm very pleasantly surprised appears to be, and I haven't seen any of you refute what I'm saying here, just trying to call a spade, appears to be much better on the Second Amendment so far this time around than last, actually. And it's through this reconciliation process. Now, here's what I did hear about over the weekend. I did hear, because I was literally going and watching some of these speeches that were happening on the House floor earlier. There's a couple of congressmen that are like, no, we're actually not going to vote on this reconciliation package. A couple of Republicans, because it's not backing the Second Amendment enough. From what I understand right this minute, they don't have a consensus for reconciliation. So what's that going to mean? Well, there's two likely scenarios that'll happen. And this will happen literally in like the wee hours of the morning, like Sunday merging into Monday. All the good people are home asleep. Good people like my friend Ray, she'll be home in bed already at that point. Good people like Mateo and Harry Grimley, you guys will be all in bed nicely. But no, in the middle of the night, your parents say, don't go out at night, right? Okay, well, these people will be up in the middle of the morning, and one of two things are going to happen here. Trust me. You guys have seen the Lansing sessions that happen in the middle of the night, right? Yeah. They're going to come up with one of two things. Either A, they're going to have to add some of this stuff back in, like completely repealing that portion of the NFA, removing silencers, mufflers, moderators, colloquially known as suppressors from the NFA. They might have to do that to get some of these couple good Republicans out there who are willing to make a stand for the Second Amendment right now. And from what I understand, out of the 435, there's about this many of them right now. You can count them on one hand. Okay. So in the middle of the night, they're either going to get their way, and all of a sudden we'll see some of this put back in that we want. Look, we want it put in because what it does is it repeals. For the most part, no new laws, guys. We need no more laws. Like, there's already just so many, like hundreds of thousands and, well, essentially millions when you count CFRs and all these different things that have full force and effective law, right? Agency rules, bureaucracy, the bureaucratic state, the fourth unchecked branch of government. You guys know what I'm talking about. Look, you're probably committing like 10 crimes every day, even though you didn't even know it. And you're like, well, hold on a minute. I woke up, I went to church, I sang front row in the choir. Yeah, that's the problem. Did you have a permit to be in the front row? Oh, you didn't? I mean, no, look, it's like literally so many things are criminalized nowadays, right? But we'll see. We'll see. So these, we do need the actual bill, because what the bill does is it repeals. Okay, just to make that clear, I don't want any more laws. I want less laws. I just want them to leave us the hell alone, right? Like, dude, just leave me alone. I don't even need much at all. Like, I already have like pretty much all I would ever want on this earth. Just get the heck out of my way, take your boot off of my neck, and we'll be just fine. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody, but don't tread on me. So they might put this stuff back in, which in this case is a good thing. The Short Act, Section 2 of the Hearing Protection Act. You've got the Hush Act, which no one's wanting to talk about anymore. Or it's going to go the other way. They might push back. We'll see what AIPAC does. Oh, did I just say that out loud? We'll see what AIPAC does. But look, they might actually come back harder too. This can work two different ways. The machine doesn't like it when you push back too much. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you can push it a little bit and it'll laugh at you. You get it to maybe fall off balance a little bit. Oh boy, look out. Look out. It'll put it in low gear and just pedal to the metal on you. Hey, we're going to see what happens this weekend. Really. We're going to see what happens this weekend. But here's the real problem. The real problem is so many people just sit back and they're like, well, I hope Congress will, oh gosh, I hope these These old fogies that don't even know. I mean, look, the average age of Congress is like 190. You know what I mean? Just think about this for a minute. And that's why I just said, are politics dead? Does anyone even care anymore? And look, the Trump phenomenon is different. This isn't normal politics. Once Trump's out, things are going to be super boring again. Trust me. Trump is a character, like literally by definition, makes it where many people love him, makes it where many people hate him, you know? But look, this whole Trump thing that's going on right now, just Trump being him, this is not how it normally works. But here, the crazy part is Trump's brought a lot of enthusiasm to politics on both sides, with the leftists wanting to fight back, and then a lot of, well, let's just say conservatives, but it's not even just conservatives. It's like the MAGA movement. The people that believe in Trump's vision for Make America Great Again are like super invigorated right now, and have been for like what? How long has it been? 15, 16 years that Trump's been running, or thinking about running. My point I'm bringing is this. If we can't get stuff repealed from the National Firearms Act right now, dude, I don't know when we'll be able to, really. I mean, look, think about this for a minute. So you've got Trump. Before him was that old man. They call him many things. I'm trying to be very polite tonight. Very polite. The former vice president, we'll call him. I lead an effective strategy to mobilize. Shubit out of that sort of pressure. That was the smartest thing he said for 4 years. Rabidly anti-2A. Very evil person, too, in my opinion. He didn't repeal any gun control. Before that, we had Trump with the trifecta. With people like Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House and Senate Leader McConnell. Didn't put nothing in the omnibus then. So didn't get anything happening then either. Okay, then before that, a man named Barack Hussein Obama. Right? Barack Hussein Obama. That once bragged he was bragging that he was the first African president? Excuse me? If you can't, look, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. End of story. And all these people that don't like it here, they can get the heck out. I'm being serious. Just close the whole border right now. Ship them all out. If you're here illegal, you're gone. If you're here legally and you don't want to be here, you can be gone too, actually. You know what I mean? Think about it. Barry. Yeah, he was just Barry from the block. Barry from Chirac. Yeah. Okay, look. It's this simple. You hate America? Get out, leave, bye. All right. Now, you're here illegally, leave, bye. But no, he said he was the first African president. I'm thinking, president of what country? Africa? No, president here, I guess. What about before him, though? What about George Bush? What about W? As many of my friends used to say, W. And they literally have. You know what I mean? They literally have, like, right, they have on their cars that it was like an oval sticker that just had a W. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm very aware, Jay McKay, 6Man1. I'm very aware of the things the Trump administration is doing through court right now. The executive orders Trump has made. Some are finally coming to fruition. And here's the thing, man. Here's how this works. People like my friend Jim McKay might be like, dude, I'm mad at you because you're not being pro-Trump enough. But here's the problem, man. Like, there's someone else right now being like, 2AE to you. You're not anti-Trump enough. Look, I'm not pro or anti-anything except for the Second Amendment on this channel. Just to make it very, very clear. The Second Amendment's very clear. If you're against the Second Amendment, I'm against you. If you're supporting the Second Amendment, I'm for you. And that's literally all it has to do with. Parties, colors, all this stuff. To hell with all of that. But no, I've been acknowledging and I'm watching it because I'm literally watching what's going on. Trump's doing better on the Second Amendment this term than last. I'm just saying. But Congress now is going to come in because it's always back and forth. It's this one. It's that one. It's like they just keep moving around. It's constantly a moving target, right? George W. Did he repeal the NFA? I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. Well, what about Clinton? Well, no, that was a 10-year AWB happened during the Clinton era with help from Republicans, by the way. Well, there's always help. There's always a few Republicans going to help with gun control. Remember when Michigan, the current Speaker of the House, then Minority Leader. And look, I'll tell you what, if the Michigan House can't pass any pro-gun bills, in other words, repealing any gun control bills, if they can't repeal some, at least through the House, just to let us know there's a difference, the Speaker of the House is going to be the Minority Leader again, and that's just my prediction. No, I'm being serious. You all think that you just want to worry about getting reelected all the time? And you're going to ignore the Second Amendment, ignore all these things? Yeah, that's a good way not to get elected. That's a good way to get people just like me to never, ever go vote again at all for anybody. Or if I do, just write Mickey Mouse down on there, because that is what this has turned into. Or just write a clown on there for the clown show it is. And I'm being very patient. But if these people just keep ignoring the Second Amendment with these Republican-controlled majorities, even if it's just in the Michigan House, and they keep ignoring it in the United States Congress, yeah, I'm about ready to write clown on there as a write-in, and because that's literally what it's turned into. So, Clinton? Heck no. Well, what about Sr.? What about George Bush Sr., the son of Prescott Bush? Look up Prescott Bush if you want. See, I give you guys these homework assignments once in a while. You think W was bad? You think Sr., Mr. CIA, the time that Kennedy was taken out? You think Daddy was bad? No, look at Granddaddy. Look at Prescott Bush and the stuff he was involved in. Yeah, can't even talk about half this stuff on here. Just remember, you know who's really in charge when you know they're the ones you're not allowed to talk about. Stuff you're not allowed to talk about. That means you're right over the target. Did Bush repeal anything? No. All he did is signed legislation that established what's called Section 922R. I'm talking about W's daddy. Prescott Bush's boy, if you know what I mean. No, I'm serious, though. Someone's just rolling their eyes. Look up Prescott Bush. Really look into it. Don't just look it up. You'll see, again, there's nothing new under the sun with any of this. But, no, he actually he signed a law that put in and established that whole point system where it basically was a ban on imported assault rifles. Yeah, assault rifles. Dude, I like pepper on my stuff too. They never go after pepper rifles. It's just always, it's an assault rifle. Salt's good for you too, though. You actually need sodium to keep your electrolyte balance up. I know she's probably asleep right now, but right, darling, my wife will tell you, look, they say, you need a low sodium diet. Well, you take all your salt out, it messes with your electrolyte balance, especially when you're working out and sweating a lot. But they wanted to go after these salt weapons, whether they were the Himalayan, the Sherpa salt, the Dead Sea salt. It didn't matter. It was all too salty, these assault rifle. And that makes it where you couldn't just get like an AK imported anymore. Like my Polytech Legend that I really like a lot. Like it's like new in the box right now. That all of a sudden had to be turned into a Mac 90 after 1989 because of George Bush Sr. Really took a big stab against the Second Amendment. What about the one before that? Ronald Reagan. You can just hear the, whoa. I'm supposed to get excited when I say that, right? Any good Republican is supposed to, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I'm not a Republican. That's the problem. Why do people assume I'm a Republican all the time? I'm not a Republican. But here's the problem, though. Obviously, I'm not a Democrat. I'll get a comment. They'll say, 2A EDU said he's not a Republican. He must be a Democrat. No, I don't think so. Not even close. Dude, you're a libertarian, brother. No, look, man. Got a lot of friends that are libertarians. I like many things about like regular old libertarian people I know for the most part. Oh, heck yeah. The Libertarian Party, no, I've got just as many problems with it as I do all the rest, too. So I'm not that either. So let's go back to Ronald Reagan, the greatest since the great Abraham Lincoln. The great Abraham Lincoln that suspended someone's ability for a writ of habeas corpus, meaning you could be arrested and not even be allowed to see a judge. These are American citizens we're talking about. Illegals? No. Illegals don't get writ of habeas corpus. They're illegal. They just shouldn't be here. That's totally different. American citizen, yeah. You can't just be held without appearing before a judge. No, Abraham Lincoln did that. But to AEDU, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. No, he didn't. Anyone that thinks that the 13th Amendment got rid of slavery literally has just been listening to all the jargon that they've been brainwashed with and never read the darn thing. No. The 13th Amendment. And look, I'm talking about Lincoln when I'm talking about Reagan, because these are the two most prominent of all time. You can't even find a county that doesn't have a Republican Party where they don't have a Lincoln Day dinner or a Reagan Day dinner. These are basically to the point of being deity for many people. I'm being serious. These are deity, Reagan and Lincoln. Since the late, great Ronald Reagan and then Abraham Lincoln, the greatest of all time. Abraham Lincoln did not free one slave. He made it where all of us actually are slaves. If you really look into it, if you look into what the 13th Amendment actually says, and then you look into compulsory taxes, yeah. Dude, you know we weren't supposed to have any federal income tax, right? That didn't get put into the early 1900s. The Federal Reserve, which means we've been playing with funny money for way over 100 years now. It's funny, but it's actually not that funny. It's not funny if you're the victim of it. But look, 1986, Ronald Reagan signs the Firearms Owners Protection Act. Right? Firearm Owners Protection Act. That did allow people to travel freely through states. And if you were just stopping just quick enough for gas and maybe a little bit of a bite to eat, just kind of passing through, you could still have a firearm that was prohibited in other places. A couple other minor things. But then he signs it with the Hughes Amendment that said as of May, right? May 19th, 1986, they would close the registry. Wait a minute, you just said the registry's bad. Yeah, the registry's bad. The whole National Firearms Act is completely and utterly illegal and unconstitutional. But they even closed the registry and wouldn't even allow anybody to pay $200 and lick the boot of the government. May it please the crown, may I please pay $200, fingerprints. At that time, it was Leo permission. Now it's Leo notification. Cleo, Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Back then, it was Cleo permission that you had to ask the local chief of police or sheriff, depending where you reside, for permission to get an NFA item. Oh, yeah. That changed very recently, if you think about it, where you just have to notify them. But I digress. They said, no, dude, we'll grandfather in the ones that are already registered, making it where only wealthy people, for the most part, will be able to afford them. And that's it. Nobody's been able to make or purchase a machine gun, unless they're members of law enforcement, because they're above the law. The military, totally outside the rule of regular law. And then, of course, rich people, they can just buy something that's pre-ban. Or if you're a special occupational taxpayer, if you're an SOT, then yeah, then you can. So bribe, good. Don't pay the extortion fee, bad. It's the same person, though. You're not hurting anybody equally. Let me just cut to the chase here. These, in so many cases, are what's called victimless crimes. And when they can imprison you for the rest of your life for a victimless crime, this is the sheer definition of a tyrannical government. And Ronald Reagan made it where essentially machine guns are illegal unless you're rich, is what it really comes down to. Unless you're rich or you're paying the extortion fee and you're licensed with the federal government, they're illegal. You can't buy one that's been made since 1986. But yeah, so I could go back to Carter. What did Carter do? Made gas prices like $5 a gallon, like around the time I was born, which was insane, if not even higher than that. Had interest rates up to 20-something%. The hostages in Iran, I mean, we could go on and on about him. Oh, yeah. Then we could start going back to some of the stuff where it really starts getting conspiratorial. We could get back into Ford. Where'd Ford even come from, by the way? Go look into that. That's a rabbit hole. Where'd this guy come from? We could go back to LBJ and Kennedy. Oh, yeah. We could go back to Nixon. We could go back to Ike. We could keep going and going. And here's the thing. We got the Gun Control Act of 68 under LBJ. We've got the National Firearms Act of 1934 under FDR, one of the most communist, tyrannical presidents of all time. Look, the guy wanted to be a king. He was going to stay in office the rest of his life. They literally amended the Constitution to prohibit him or anybody else from running again. He couldn't even walk. They were keeping all of that hidden. Well, that reminds me of, oh, geez, there's nothing new under the sun. Look at the former vice president. Now the Democrats are all admitting, oh, he got to the point where if he fell one more time, he was going to have to be in a wheelchair. It's like, well, dude, people think this is all new. Like, oh, nowadays the government just got corrupt. If you go back to World War II and stuff, World War II, I still can't believe people think there were good guys in World War II. Now, there were good individual soldiers in World War II, actually, in every country that fought in it. That's not what I'm saying. Not at all. There was no good guy. But, oh, well, back in the day, and everyone has some weird, like I Miss Mayberry type thing in their head. I get it, man. Like, I like to be like that, too. I really do. Like, man, in a time like before I was born, things must have been awesome. No, dude. Like, you go back to 1934, the National Firearms Act, FDR. They literally kept him hidden that he was in a wheelchair from the public for years. In so many cases, his wife was running the whole country. This is all like totally common knowledge now, but they were able to hide it from everybody back then. And virtually nobody even knew. And we can go back like the last nearly 100 years. And they just kept treading further and further and further and infringing further and further and further on the Second Amendment every time. And we'll see what happens this weekend. We really will. Because there are a couple congressmen out there. Because there are some good ones, man. There really are. You know, when I say like the Republicans, yeah, the Republicans suck. So do the Democrats. And I think they all hate the DUA. But there are some good individuals on the state level. There are some good individuals on your county level. And there are still a couple, not many. There's about this many right now in the United States Congress that are actually fighting like hell as we speak. Like, this is all going on over the weekend. They have the weekend off on paper, but some of them don't. I was listening to Representative Burleson talk just last night. Some of them actually do not have the weekend off because they're holding out. And they're saying, we will not agree to this reconciliation package if you don't get back in there and repeal some more of this gun control. We're going to see what happens, man. We will. I'll tell you what our answer would be. So I hope that they somehow, but here's the problem though, man. You gotta fight though. You've got to fight. And even if like we lose some more stuff because they're fighting too hard, this like handful, it's like 5 people total that are like really, really just like fighting right now, that are out there screaming and yelling. I don't know if any of you paid attention, but there were a couple impassioned floor speeches, and there's a couple of them that really will do it. I saw somebody said Thomas Massey. Yeah, random guy from Oz. People like him and a few others. There's a few others. Look, we had my favorite representative, Michigan State Representative Jamie Thompson, in the chat on this channel just probably, a month ago? She said, guys, look, we need more of you to call. She's giving you guys some really, really inside strategy. I mean, it's obvious, right? But she's like, dude, not enough people are calling. You don't want to keep being ignored by the Republican leadership, and more of you need to call Lansing. No, she's fighting. She's a good one. But so look, there's good ones here and there that really are. But at the end of the day, here's how I think the answer would be. Here's what I think the answer truly is, right, Mateo? Because I told him this before the stream, and I'm like, you know what? I think this is the answer, but I'll say it here because it's your man. What's happening, Marco Polo? Member for 37 months. How you doing, man? He says, dang, I'm old. No, you're not, dude. Come on, man. Nice t-shirt, by the way, he's wearing. That's retro, vintage 2A EDU t-shirt. Dude, those t-shirts are about as rare, actually, as there are congressmen that will stand for the Second Amendment. I think he's a handsome-looking dude. What do you guys think? Come on, Marco Polo. You ain't that old. Looking good, man. Dude, like everyone that's watching this channel, all kinds of good-looking people in the chat. Nice people in the chat. Smart people. Man, look at all these good people. What's happening, Vince? How you doing? What's happening? A Steinman says, I call myself a constitutionalist. Look, man, I hear you, dude. Like, conservative, conserve what? Conserve. So here's the thing. Speaking of conserve what? I'm pretty much convinced that the only way that we can truly save the Second Amendment, and hear me out, is we have to get AIPAC on board with the Second Amendment. Now, hold on a minute. The American is, they actually don't have very good, well, they don't have a Second Amendment, okay? But we're going to use big air quotes. They don't have a very good version of the Second Amendment in Israel at all, actually. They really don't. They don't. People say they do, but no, they actually really don't at all. Like it's much, much worse than it is here in the U.S. But if you look, basically, has anyone heard Thomas Massey talk about this? Don't believe me. Don't believe a word I say. Please don't. I've listened to Thomas Massey talk about this for hours on end. When AIPAC says to do something, they jump. They jump. And here's what I noticed. I said, well, hold on a minute. How come every time it always comes back to the same thing? This is stupid. There must just be a lot of bigoted people out there. Now, actually, I'm to the point now where being bigoted really ain't that bad, actually. Probably the smartest and best thing to do. If you want my opinion. In my opinion, it's best to be as bigoted as you possibly can in so many areas. But I digress. But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, hold on a minute. So he's talking through saying, when AIPAC says jump, they say how high. I'm like, that's interesting. Well, let's see what the social media influencers are saying about this. The ones with millions and millions of subscribers. Now, I will say, I was listening to Tim Pool last night. I mean, watching, but listening because I had it on my Bluetooth. That's how I pretty much watch everything, is I just listen. And Phil on there from the band All That Remains, he's a regular host on Tim Pool. He actually came in there with a United States congressman on the show. Representative Burleson was on the show, and he brought up the Hearing Protection Act, the very specific parts in the Short Act. And man, dude, like, I don't even listen to his music. I listen to country music. I'm serious, right? But man, hats off to the guy. He literally, with a sitting congressman, sat there on that show last night and laid it all out. And I'm like, dude, that was actually refreshing to hear that. And then I went over and I said, well, hold on a minute. I haven't listened to, so that was good. That was good, actually. And I'm like, well, what about the Daily Wire? What are they doing about this? Because, I mean, certainly they have a lot of money, a lot of influence. And I'm like, well, maybe I should watch some Ben Shapiro a little bit. I haven't watched him in forever. I don't care for the guy, if you want to know my honest opinion. But I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting to hear him talk about all of this. He does little platitudes about the 2A here and there. And then I heard him come in and say that his favorite thing about America is its support of Israel. And I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute. What allegiance do you have? I mean, just think about something like that. The best thing, or his favorite thing, I'm paraphrasing, because these people will sue you. In my opinion, I'm paraphrasing Little Ben Shapiro. No, they'll literally sue a guy like me. These people will. These conservative industrial complex people, Conservative Inc. as it's called. But the way I heard it, from what I recall, paraphrasing, he said his favorite thing or the best thing about America was its support for Israel. And I'm thinking, what? And then I started looking into him a little bit more, and I'm like, oh, wait, what's this? And this is, again, in my opinion, allegedly, AIPAC is one of the largest promoters and sponsors and funders of his news network. And I'm thinking, ugh. And then I go looking further and I'm like, APEC also, one of their biggest supporters that funds them, they're in cahoots with, how do I say this to keep it family friendly? The site starts with a P and it ends with hub. So P hub, the oldest profession in the world. You know what I'm talking about now? POR space hub. They donate to APEC. APEC's in with him. He's in with his favorite thing about America is this other country. And then I hear Thomas Massey talk about like literally what APEC does. And these are like American Israelis, but in my opinion, they're foreign, but somehow due to this loophole, they're not, but they are. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, Congress clearly not going to save the Second Amendment. Literally. None of these presidents ever have. Trump's signing executive orders that do show some promise. I have to call a spade, guys. This wouldn't be this channel if I wasn't just calling it how it is, and I always have. I get people mad every time I do this. Trump has been signing some executive orders that have had some meaning so far. But he can't sign a bill that he can sign the bill, but if it doesn't have the stuff in it from Congress, it won't repeal these parts of the NFA. So the president can't save us. The Senate? This is if the House passes all this. What is the FUD Senate going to do to it? Now, you know what I'm saying, Lone Wolf? I mean, look, guys, this is in my opinion. I may be wrong. Go fact check everything I'm saying. Sometimes I just research stuff. Tell me if I'm wrong, Lone Wolf. But these companies that are all connected, you know what I'm saying? What's happening, Denny's Plant-Based Journey? How you doing, man? Nice to see you. I haven't seen you on here while I was live. Now, I go back and watch, replay, but I'm glad to be able to say hi to you in real life and drive safely, man. Because he's saying he listens while he's watching. So, but look, here's the problem, man. Here's the problem, guys. It doesn't seem Congress is really going to save us too much. I hope they can pull off something in the middle of the night. Yeah, you learn a lot of stuff when you look this stuff up, Lone Wolf, don't you? Dude, I've learned a lot of stuff I wish I didn't know. I'm being like really honest with you guys. Like, I wish I didn't even. You know what I used to love, man? I used to love a time. DLD After Dark. Ron 2A Matters. You know what I'm saying? Dale. Bill Alexander. Good to see you guys, by the way. Dude, there was a time when I actually believed that I'm just a Bill on Capitol Hill. And it's like, we the people, we vote a representative government in there. We have a representative republic. As Ben Franklin said, a republic if we can keep it. And then I sit back and think about it more and more. I'm like, what's this new thing that we have going on right now? No, it always goes back to the same thing every time. The more things change, the more they stay the same. We've always had this. Literally, the Declaration of Independence talks about this. And I guess things just haven't been sufferable enough. Because we the people. Now, look, guys, when I say we the people, I don't literally mean you personally and me personally. Man, have I tried. Man, have I tried. I've tried as much as everyone's tried. And here's the thing. I'm the idiot of the hour here because I'm still trying right now. As useless as I pretty much know it is, I'm still trying. And yes, I'm publicly confessing I'm an absolute moron, obviously. Because I know dang well I'll never be able to make a difference, but I'm still trying. So therefore, I'm stupid. Yeah, I know. Someone's going to type in, dude, the definition of the word insanity is blah, blah, blah. I don't know about insanity, but yeah, I'm pretty stupid, clearly. But I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, hold on a minute. Until we reach absolute despotism, right? After a long train of abuses and usurpations, right? I guess the train's not long enough and the abuses and usurpations aren't long enough because right now we the people ain't doing crap. We the people ain't doing crap. And we are getting oppressed by a tyrannical government. And really, though, it's the tyrannical government in which we deserve. So we the people right now ain't doing crap. Now, for every one of you who really is, and I'm trying like a lot harder than I probably should, and you're trying probably harder than you should, dude, there's 1,000 NPCs out there just droning around their life, just sitting there going, duh, what's for dinner? What's for whatever? Where am I? What's going on? And here I am. I thought I was the smart one trying to figure stuff out. And then I sit here going, where am I? What's going on? Because I don't recognize this crap. But as of right now, eventually, probably, and hopefully, because everything goes in cycles, right? Everything, there's a season. Ecclesiastes, it's a good book. But you sit here and you think to yourself, it's like, well, we the people ain't going to do crap. Not right now, not yet. Maybe not in my lifetime, probably not. Congress, well, we'll see. Maybe they'll do some Hail Mary this weekend. But maybe, just maybe, AIPAC will be the only thing that can save us. What do you think the odds are of that? All right, well, I enjoyed talking about this, and I've been thinking about a lot. We will see what happens over the weekend. I called the Ways and Means Committee Chairman, Jason Smith's office. I told the staffer that answered the phone exactly the key parts that need to go back in to the reconciliation bill. He told me he took notes and he'd pass it along. I didn't write him a check. I didn't have one. Here's the problem. If I wrote him a check over a certain amount, it would be a bribe. But since AIPAC is the American Israelis, even though they're not American, but they are, they're like totally American, but they're not, but they are. And since they are, but they're not, but they're not, but they are, they can funnel through virtually infinite amounts of money. Citizens United, a corporation is a person. Excuse me? We need an audit of the corporation that's being run in the United States right now, by the way. That's one of the most corrupt corporations there is, with the Federal Reserve printing money. But no, look, these people can bribe as much as they want. All I can do is make my phone call. But I did. I called the Ways and Means Committee. And was very articulate, very to the point, told them exactly what was germane. Then I called my United States Congressman, Tim Walberg. He does not sit on the committee. But when I called, I said, hey, look, I'm a constituent. And although my congressman is not on the Ways and Means Committee, I urge him, because on paper he's supporting the Hearing Protection Act and Hush Act and Short Act and all of this. I said, I ask him to use his power as Congress, as my representative. I want him to personally be calling his colleagues in the Ways and Means Committee and urging them that they must vote for this. So I did all that. Huh. You guys are thinking, hey, boy, are you stupid? Yeah, probably. Right? Probably. But I don't have the checks these people have. I don't have the bombs that these people have. See, when you have Nikki Haley, who's a Republican, signing bombs, think about that. And when you have Republican and Democrat politicians, former or currently powerful people signing bombs, they're going to be dropped on many, many good people, innocent husbands, fathers, wives, daughters, sisters, brothers, grandmas, grandpas, grandkids, just regular people, like real people that actually exist. And they autograph these bombs and they send them off. Dude, there's no appropriations bill for these bombs and these guns that they have. There's no appropriations amount they won't sign. Oh, Lockheed Martin just raised the price? That's fine. We'll just print a little more. And you're thinking to yourself, man, I just want to go buy me a sandwich when I'm out working. Why can't I afford one? Well, we ran out of money for our bombs and for our guns. So now we had to print more, doubling the price of your hamburger. Think about that for a minute. Now, there isn't a bomb. There isn't a bomb bill they won't sign. And I'm being literal. Go look this up if you don't believe me. They literally autographed these bombs. I'm trying to be in a good mood. It makes me want to scream, though. You see that Governor Shapiro? I watched him doing it one day with Zelensky. I watched Nikki Haley doing it, all of these. I mean, who would do that? Do these people literally have no soul? Oh, but Trump is a stooge of Putin, so now we have to kill all these. This is what they say. Trump's a stooge of Putin, so now we need to go in there and do what? There's not even any like young men alive in Ukraine anymore for the most part. They're all dead. Think about that for a minute. There's like a whole generation of people that are just gone. Autographing bombs. That's what they do. Mark Pellegrino chiming in. What's happening, man? It says Ethical Capital Partners and ILO are Canadian companies. They are the ones who contribute to APEC. Interesting. Now, well, there's a couple other ones too, I believe, that also do. But isn't there some kind of executive order right now going on that if you're on a college campus and you talk about a certain something that you're in trouble? Yeah, I know. I was thinking that too. Cue up the cranberry zombie. Yeah. God rest her soul. She's dead too, but probably wouldn't have seen eye to eye with her at all, probably on a lot of things. But probably on this, I would actually. With their tanks and their bombs and their guns. Yeah, actually. Trump's scaring me a lot, though, on some of the stuff that he's doing with. Look, here's the problem, though, man. You have a country. Look, here's the big thing. So many people out there, they're like, well, Palestine's not a country and never was. Israel. Last time I checked, Israel's not a country. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is Israel a country? I don't think it's a country either. Is it a nation state? Yeah. The only religious nation state that I even know of for the most part. The only one that I know of. No, this goes back to Winston Churchill. This goes back to treaties in the 1940s, all of this. And I talked about this earlier. I said the sun never sets on the British Empire. Yeah, that's probably actually true. It really probably is. Great Britain created a lot of this. But from what I understand, you can sit there. And look, here's the problem, man. Like a lot of these pro-Palestine protesters and whatevers they are, like, man, I share very little of their worldview with many things. And most of them are not pro-Second Amendment. So these, I'm not complimenting those people. Not even going to come close. But you can rip on that. But those people get in trouble if they rip on Israel. Now that's allegedly a crime. From what I understand, it's a crime now, right? It's like, man, ooh. I tried to give this stuff the benefit of the doubt for so long. I'm like, no, it couldn't be. But here's the problem, man. When they make it where you're not allowed to even talk about somebody, that really, really kind of says a lot, a real lot. So I'm worried about a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on that's real interesting right now. Jared Kushner in the last administration, lots of things. And I think a lot of this is tied in with the Second Amendment more than we even really want to acknowledge. Drain the Swamp 53. What's happening, man? How you doing? Last time I saw this guy was in Howell, Michigan, right? Speedway gas station. See, I have a good memory. Thank you for the $20 super chat. I appreciate the generosity. He says, Economist magazine, Trump king of the world. They only been talking about for 10 years or more. Google it. Well, I will have to look into that. That's interesting. I saw the Trump 2028 hats out there. I did see the Trump 2028 hat, but from what you're saying, they're reporting that might not just be the United States. That might be of the world. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, there's lots of weird stuff going on right now. Like, for real, for real. Oh, wait, he did? DLD After Dark says IV 8888 got canned by the GAOA for tweeting things about Israel. Well, look, man, is that true? Is that true? Really? Wait a minute. I'll have to look into that. I'm not doubting you, but wow, man. I'd have to look into that. I don't think I now maybe for other reasons, but if that's true, I don't think I could support a group like that. And here's the thing, guys, like here's the crazy thing about all this. Dude, there's many fine people, regular people that are living in Israel too. So much that Netanyahu, he's like lost his elections for how long now? But he's still just somehow magically in power? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't he been voted out like many times? But he's still somehow just there? I know, like in the Ukraine, they don't have elections anymore either. Jax McAllister says Palestine is trash. No one can talk about Islam, where they want to kill us all. No, you can talk about that though. That's the thing, man. You can actually rip on that if you want. I'm just saying, like, I thought, and tell me if I'm wrong, guys. I thought that Trump signed an executive action that the colleges will lose funding if they allow people to talk bad about Israel. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw what I read. See, here's the problem, man, and I don't know if you took me the wrong way, or maybe not. Maybe I'm reading your thing the wrong way. But it's like, dude, I wasn't standing up for Palestine over Israel. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying, like, if people that are like the pro-Palestine movement, like, if they like want to talk bad about Israel or Zionism or all this, if they want to talk bad about it, I thought there was a new rule, full force and effective law that says if the colleges are talking about Israel bad, they get in trouble. That's all I'm getting at. Like, I don't think that's cool that, like, you get in trouble because you want to talk trash about another country. That's all I'm saying. I could talk trash about Palestine for months. I could talk trash about Israel for months. I could talk trash about the United States for a long time. I mean, there's lots of stuff. I just thought that it had. I thought that it was essentially illegal on college campuses to talk about this. That's the way I understood it. Or I do understand it. What's up, 2A Warrior? How you doing, man? And you know what? I think I'm going to leave on this note because it's the best way to end this stream tonight. Mark Pellegrino says no one cares. And I think you're right, because all I'm doing is talking about AIPAC and how much they influence everything in the laws, and I don't think it's right. And then it's going to turn to, 2A EDU, you didn't rip on this enough, or Palestine enough. Palestine's worse. Israel's worse. This is worse. That's worse. Yeah, I know. Everyone's got all their preconceived notions. And I sat there and repeated myself like a dummy idiot saying, guys, isn't there a new executive action that says that it's illegal to talk about a certain country on colleges? Yeah, there actually is. And no one will admit to it because nobody cares. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and have a good one.